All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rooftop Podcast.
They say that age kills the fire inside of a man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rooftop Podcast. I am your host, Brandon, back again with my good man, Greg here.
The associate.
We're here to talk about some mighty fine things today. They are controversial, I guess, not in like we're going to, get, people showing up at our houses with torches about it.
Yeah.
So today the topic is Anti-Vaxers and the four-handed condom. So.
The four-handed condom.
Yes. All right, today's topic, sir. The main one, I guess I would say. I got a little paper here so we stay on topic while we're doing this, because sometimes, it just gets a little messy and the wind's blowing. So I need to get a clipboard, dude, or something.
Yeah, that would probably help a little bit.
Let
me see. Do you need help? Okay.
No, we got it. I would say a tablet, but then, the sun would be out and it's hard to see the tablet.
Yeah.
All right, sir. So what do you know about the anti-vaccination movement?
Well, as far back as I can remember, which would probably be about 2014, people have claimed, and it's not necessarily proven scientifically, but people have claimed that vaccines do cause autism in young children. Mm-hmm. More primarily, I guess, toddlers and newborns. So that's why people don't usually want to get their the newborns or toddlers vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, I think most people would know about it by now.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's pretty big. It's a movement of people who are just anti-vaccine. They won't get vaccinated themselves. Well, actually, they won't get any new vaccines, because usually the people who are anti-vax are older people, and they have already gotten their vaccinations as a child.
Yeah.
They just won't get their own poor children vaccinated, which is a huge problem. But, yeah, they just don't trust vaccines. They think it causes autism, or they just think it causes whatever other myriad of things they think it causes. But it's a huge problem right now, and it's spreading all throughout social media, on YouTube, whatever the heck else you're on. You probably seen something about anti-vax. And so it's growing pretty big in popularity. The CDC is actually now having to figure out ways to fight the misinformation that's going on out there, because it's just it's really crazy how uneducated people can talk about a subject like that, and how many people will get them to follow along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like people are being manipulated, kind of.
It's crazy that you would believe this random dude. It's crazy. You would.
One of the biggest claims, though, I think that gets people kind of riled up because of the fact that they're not educated. Mm-hmm. Which, it's not necessarily their fault. It's not like our schools really teach this, but one of the biggest claims was that the levels of mercury and aluminum that are within the I guess the formula that makes up the vaccines as a preservative, that they do cause autism. Because mercury is, it's bad for you. It is pretty toxic. It can kill you. Mm-hmm. But, in small amounts, it's not really going to harm you too much. There's small amounts of mercury in tuna. You probably consume more mercury in tuna than you'll ever get in just one small vaccine.
Yeah.
Which also kind of goes to go for the aluminum. The aluminum in vaccines is in, such trace amounts. It's such a small amount that you'll probably consume more aluminum.
Using deodorant.
Using deodorant or in just one meal. It's actually in our food. Mm-hmm. One meal would probably contain, I think, twice to 4 times the amount of aluminum that's in a vaccine. Mm-hmm. And imagine, you eating all throughout the day. Snacks, breakfast, lunch, dinner. The amount of aluminum you consume in a day compared to that in a vaccine, it's not even comparable.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think they've actually started, or maybe they already have. I think they've removed, because of those claims, the aluminum and the mercury from newer vaccines, and they were only in certain ones anyway.
Yeah.
They weren't in all of them. And
that we're gonna have to look that one up because
I'm not sure. I thought I read it somewhere, but again, I'm not saying it's 100%. But these people, they're not against just the ones that are that have mercury and aluminum in them. They're all of them, every single disease, and I want to give you some numbers here, sir. So diseases that we thought were previously, they were until people started not vaccinating, were eradicated or starting to come back. And have you heard about the huge measles outbreak?
Yeah, I
that's
heard
been
about that.
happening?
I was going to mention that too.
Yeah, it's enormous. And then I read a news article, I think it was CNN, that reported 90 new cases this week of the measles,
Yeah.
which it's a pretty big number, which puts the total number of people who have measles now at over 500 people.
Damn.
So, I mean, you think of a population of 300 million people.
500 doesn't seem like a lot,
No.
but compared to the 0 that it was before.
Yeah, and that's within 1 year,
Yeah.
And think of how one of the biggest places, or actually I think where it started is what I read, is New York.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
thought it was LA, but okay.
And thinking about how condensed New York is, 285 of the cases out of the 500 are in New York.
Damn, that's like more a little over half.
Yeah. So, and you think that it's such a condensed place, 285 people can turn into thousands,
Yeah,
turn into millions real quick,
exactly,
especially
yeah.
in a place like
New York. It's overpopulated, really condensed, a small area, a lot of
Yeah.
people in one small space. And, usually when there's a lot of people who are vaccinated in one area, it does create a bit of a buffer so that if a virus does make its way somehow to a populated area, those that have vaccines can contract it first and their body will get rid of it and deal with it, before it can spread to anybody else,
Yeah.
which kind of increases the chances of people without vaccines being spared and not having to even deal with that at all. But, obviously in this case, that's not the case, and people are contracting it and aren't vaccinated. So, more people are starting to get infected, and that number is only going to grow the more people that join the movement.
Yeah, the numbers have been increasing crazily, and actually the I'm not sure who it was, but I think the governor, whoever it was, all I know is in New York they actually started requiring people in certain zip codes to start getting mandatory vaccines. Did you know that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
'cause
you got to get rid of that, and it feels like it's kind of a hard thing to force someone to get a vaccine, but when it's coming to something like this causing a huge outbreak that can be terrible to many people, you think it's worth forcing people to against what they believe? It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird in that area.
That's kind of hard to answer, and I don't want to upset anybody by my answer. All I'm going to say is that that's kind of just a question that's a little bit of legality versus morality, because bottom line is people should be free to do whatever they want, but at the same time, if this is something that's endangering and risking other people's lives,
Yeah.
because at some point, even if you are vaccinated, if there's enough people who have that measles virus in them, it's not going to matter whether or not you're vaccinated. At some point, it's going to be so severe and just everywhere that you could end up contracting it anyway.
Yeah, and things like that evolve really quickly.
Yeah, they do.
Disease and
So
stuff.
that's kind of a hard one. I don't really want to get too much into that, but it's just, it's that question of, legality versus, morality and liberty. So it's
It's just a
kind of
tricky
patchy.
place.
It's a very tricky place.
It's a
Yeah,
very
it's real
tricky
tricky.
But people should be more educated on things like vaccines before they start spouting anti-vaccine propaganda and stuff.
I can kind of see like where the arguments have kind of come from, though, because autism rates have kind of increased over the years. But if you think about it, so has cancer rates, so has pretty much rates of almost every other naturally born disease, just because our human population has increased. I was looking at a
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
oh no, just even looking at that little thing from my birth, it said that the population in the U.S. at the time of my birth, which was September of 1998, was only 268 million. I think now we're closer to like 350 million. So we've grown almost grown 100 million since then in the past 20 years. So with the increase in population, just the increase of people, there's going to be more, more diseases kind of going around, just because of the fact that it's a ratio, it's a percentage. So it might be the same percent or the same, ratio, but overall it's more people, just because of the fact that the population has increased. And if you think about it, cancer didn't really exist before modern medicine. So people could have argued that, cancer is caused by modern medicine, which that's
Could
not.
have just also been undocumented. People didn't know what it was. That's a thing.
It's not just that, but it's also at some point people didn't live long enough to get cancer.
True.
Because at some point in our lives, you and I are both going to have some form of cancer. It's inevitable. We are going to have some form of cancer. It might not be anything severe enough to kill us, or it might not even be noticeable. It might not affect us in any way. But at some point, we are going to have a form of cancer. That's just kind of how it is when you get to a certain age. Your body's just going to go through that. But
not for everyone, but it's an increasing
for the most
number.
part, I think probably 90. I think it's an upward of like 90%. I have to check the stats on that, but I believe it's an upward of 90% will contract some form of, or get some form of cancer. Which cancer is just a corrupted cell. It's a cell that doesn't.
Well, they keep multiplying.
Yeah,
They don't stop.
cells multiply. That's just part of their nature. That's
But
just
they
what
don't
they do.
stop when they have cancer.
But they don't kill themselves. They don't self-destruct. And cells at some point are supposed to self-destruct so that they don't keep multiplying. Indefinitely, because otherwise, that's what happens. Is cancer happens. So cancer cells are just those corrupted cells that keep on multiplying and don't kill themselves, and that's why masses and tumors are formed because of it. But yeah, so it's kind of a weird correlation argument that vaccines cause autism just because more cases of autism are coming up, but our population is increasing as well.
Which is kind of like, it's kind of crazy that they would go to blame the vaccines for that when so many things in our world, just the time we live in, so many more things cause cancer that you would say it's a vaccine instead of these people dumping oil in places I go swim, or like the pollution I'm breathing in every day, or things like that, or like the weed killer that's causing all these poor landscapers cancer,
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Or even people that work in buildings with asbestos. Asbestos causes cancer. It's a carcinogen.
And it's funny that you go blame a vaccine for that before you would go blaming things in your environment that are known to be way more likely to cause any kind of problems,
There's even studies, and this is kind of just adding on to that argument. It's kind of irrelevant, but there's been people that argue that sunburns actually don't cause cancer in the long run, that maybe they can, but that you probably have more of a chance of getting cancer from sunscreen just because of all the chemicals they put in it, which I don't know if that's a fact. I don't know if that's proven or not, but I mean, it doesn't sound too far-fetched. Sounds like that could be a thing, but again, I'm not going to try to use that as a claim because I don't know for sure if that's even a fact.
But these... God, this paper is all over the place.
I know,
dude.
The wind is just blowing it everywhere.
But yeah, please vaccinate people, because I was reading also some more articles on this. You were aware that not only do they require the mandatory vaccines, but you saw that. I mean, it didn't stick because I guess they declared it unconstitutional. But kids who were not vaccinated were not allowed in public places in New York. Like they couldn't go to school, they couldn't go to like malls. And
I
stuff.
actually did hear something about that. I don't know if it was true or not, but that does sound pretty realistic. Just to kind of. I mean, they've quarantined people in the past for certain outbreaks.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy because actually, we're lucky we live in the United States because we have vaccines and everything, and we have treatment for these kind of things. Even though you should get vaccinated because you wouldn't have to deal with the treatments if you would have got vaccinated.
Yeah.
But I read that 1,200 people have actually died from the measles because of an outbreak in Madagascar.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty serious worldwide. A lot of
and if you think about it, 1,200 is twice and then some the amount of people who are infected here.
Yeah.
And they don't even. And the thing
that's not saying how many people's infected. That's how many died.
Died, exactly.
Yeah.
They're twice as many, even more than twice, have died from it, and that's not even counting everybody that's infected, because there's probably way more that are infected.
Yeah.
And Madagascar is technically third world, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but it's a really small place.
It's very small, so I mean, to think that it's that small and there's still that many cases of people dying.
Yeah. So, also, kind of along the lines of diseases and / people being conspiracy theorists as well, we got, because of climate change, the mosquito and tick population is spiking way up. They're able to live in a lot more places than they've been previously able to. Did you know about that?
I didn't know about that.
So yeah, because the climate is warming in certain places, because a big misconception is people not believing global warming, even though global warming does mean like the warming of the earth, because overall, I guess the overall temperature is increasing, but it just also, the better term is climate change, is that certain climates are changing due to the pollution or this and that in certain areas. So it'll warm in one area, but like, shoot, it just snowed in Phoenix this year. Like,
there was a lot of hail, yeah.
No, even it snowed in Scottsdale. Did you see that?
Oh my God, it did.
It snowed in Scottsdale.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, you can look.
Oh no, you're right. It was on a bunch of people's Snapchats actually.
It snowed in Scottsdale.
Snapchat. They're like, what the hell? Yeah, there was snow in North Scottsdale.
Yeah. So climate is changing. There's a lot of evidence proving that there's I guess there's certain parts that I guess I could see there's an argument for. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to say. But what I'm going to say is when most of the scientists around the world agree that climate change is a huge problem and we should be doing something about it, and a lot of other countries are actually doing something about it. The United States is just, it's a huge issue because we love our big gas-guzzling cars and whatnot, and just basically our gluttonous lifestyle. We just don't want to give up, which, I mean, it's going to be hard for me too, but if it's going to benefit the overall next generation,
quality of our life
know,
for the next generation.
That a lot of older people don't care about the next generation is proof by a lot of things happening in our government.
You know that actually, I think it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but because of all the chemicals that they put in foods, the testosterone levels in males is actually dropping.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have half the testosterone our fathers do, and our
Mhm.
kids will have half the testosterone we do.
Mm-hmm.
So the testosterone levels are just kind of dropping because
Yeah.
of, you know, all the stuff that they put in foods, which it doesn't necessarily go to knock food because, you know, people argue that GMOs are a really bad thing, but I mean
if you're
sometimes
poor, it's a good thing because then it cheapens the food and you're able to buy
it does
more
cheap the
and
food,
get
and
more.
not just that, but GMOs can be a good thing in their own right because there are some foodborne illnesses that can completely be eliminated from food because of the fact that they're what actually our genetics can be modified. You can also eliminate the use of pesticides because you can, I guess, kind of
Grow plants that have natural pesticides.
pesticides that kind of keep bugs from eating them or destroying, you know, crops and all that. Crop yield will kind of go up. So GMOs aren't a horrible thing, but sometimes they can, you know, the pesticides that are
There's
used.
definitely an argument for them being
Oh
bad.
yeah, there is an argument, definitely. Yeah, I can't, you know, I can't deny that. It's just, you know, I think GMOs are kind of demonized more than they should be.
I've actually been trying to eat more organic things because, dude, I work in the food department. You work in the food department. The bananas that we get in that aren't the organic ones, they're literally longer than my head. It's crazy. I'm like, these bananas are roided up. I don't think I'm going to eat this banana, dude.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy. Yeah, it's kind of bad.
They're like Donkey Kong bananas, dude. They're crazy big. They're ridiculous. But no, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go on topic. Back on topic.
Yeah, back on top. Yeah.
The mosquito and tick populations are rising. So, along with these measles and other diseases outbreaks, because there's more than measles. I think measles is just the biggest one, is what I saw. Along with these mosquito and tick populations, more mosquito and tick-borne illnesses
Oh yeah, of course.
will be spread. So they have to take not only into account how to treat these people with the measles and how to get proper information back out there on vaccines, they have to now worry about, well, mosquito populations are going up and tick populations. How are we gonna go about fighting that and preventing them from getting out of hand, you know?
Because I know for ticks, Lyme disease has always been an issue. You know,
can't eat
'cause,
red
I mean,
meat.
ticks don't always go for humans per se, but I mean, I know like in wooded areas,
Yeah.
ticks will kind of just latch on to anything that's there. So I know in a lot of wooded areas, people tend to get a lot of ticks. But with mosquitoes can pretty much spread any disease that a person has because of the fact that it sucks their blood, moves on to the next person, and just keeps going. I mean,
we were just getting bit up out
they
there
pretty much
last night.
spread any disease. I mean, you can probably, I think mosquitoes can theoretically, I don't know if can they spread AIDS, you think maybe? If it sucks someone's blood?
Possible.
'Cause
I don't see why not.
Because I think blood is a way that AIDS can be transmitted, I think.
Yeah.
So theoretically speaking, I think mosquitoes actually can spread AIDS. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but, you know, the increase in mosquitoes
you
could
can
mean
get if you could get, I don't see why not, because if someone gets a cut who has AIDS and you get blood on an open wound or something, it's very possible you get AIDS. You have
You
to
could
go to
contract
the
it,
hospital
yeah.
immediately.
it's
and
not
then,
guaranteed, but you could contract it.
Yeah, and then you have to go to the hospital, get a bunch of shots and whatnot to make sure you don't.
You don't, yeah.
But yeah, so climate change. Did you see that freaking Netflix? I didn't see the whole documentary. People have been putting out clips of like these poor animals. That there was this video of a walrus. I think it's in the Antarctic, where the ice is no longer on the rocks anymore.
Oh,
so
I've seen that.
they can't move around properly. And this one's like trying to go like peek over the edge, but he's on rocks.
Yeah.
So he just falls over the edge and like dies falling off the mountain because there's no
ice,
ice or anything.
I think the polar bear population is actually falling too, because there's not enough ice for them to travel long distances to get to the seals they need to eat.
There's pictures of like poor starving
starving polar bears. Yeah, they're not able to eat as much.
People deny climate change until freaking half of New York and Florida and all that is underwater. You know, I think it's Louisiana. It's somewhere on the East Coast. I can't remember what state or city it was, but they pump out, I think it is New Orleans. They pump out water because it keeps rising every year, and they keep flooding the streets, or maybe it's Florida, one of them. But there's the water levels keep rising, and there's going to become a point where they can't deal with the flooding anymore. The pumps aren't going to be enough because the water level is going to be so high. And people aren't moving out, dude. People are not moving out. If I was there, I guess if you're old, you won't really care, because if you're 75 living in that place, you're like, well, I'm going to be dead by the time anything's going to happen. But if I was like 20 and I was living there, I'd be like, let's start looking at new places to go.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see anything happening soon with the U.S. changing any kind of laws. In fact, they're repealing a lot of these restrictions on car companies and oil companies and stuff like that. So
a lot of issues, yeah.
Are you one for climate change or nah?
I don't know. I don't really know too much about it, so there's not really much of an argument I can make. I do know that well, it's just kind of always been an ongoing argument about the greenhouse gases and, the ozone layer kind of being corroded a bit, and because of that, the heat on the Earth, has kind of been more severe. So, of course, you can argue that global warming does exist. Climate change is more realistic, just because, climate change, you can see it with, the polar bears and all that. Like, it's provable. Climate change is real.
You just got to go somewhere and, the climate has changed.
Yeah, the climate has changed. It's not like we're saying, global warming is getting to an all-time high. We're not saying that, because, there's a lot of different weird conspiracy
there is evidence that the Earth is warming. The median temperatures have gone up from when we've industrialized from before.
Uh-huh.
But, oh well, dude. Hopefully we'll, not live in hell in 50 years.
Yeah. I think biggest thing, though, is just the pollutants. Mm-hmm. Your exhaust pipe on your car, all these different factories letting out all these fumes. It's
honestly, I think when we're going to start to work on it is when the older generation dies off and our generation or our parents' generation are going to start getting into office. Yeah. I mean, our parents' generation are already starting to get in office, and our generation kind of is getting into office as well. Like AOC.
Well,
I don't agree with everything. She's definitely don't agree with everything Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, but I mean, she's our generation getting into office, and I guess I would say she's fighting on the more extreme side of some things. Some things, a lot of stuff people blow out of proportion politically just because I'm on the right or I'm on the left.
Exactly.
But there's some things I agree with her on. I think she goes to the extreme on some things, but not on everything.
Liberal or more?
She's very, very liberal.
I was going to say she has to be liberal. Usually the younger generation is a liberal, so usually the older generation that's more conservative, which makes sense because, if that's your generation, you're going to stick to what you know.
But I'm not at all. I'm not affiliated with any party, son. I just pick who I think's going to be best.
It's really kind of hard to say nowadays, because it's like, even if you are with a certain party, there's going to be a lot of policies that they are going to want to enact that you don't agree with. So it's kind of hard to choose a party nowadays. I kind of just try to remain on my own and see whoever fits with my ideals the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little difficult nowadays, especially, with our recent presidential candidates. There's not a lot of things that I've agreed with. So
I think a lot more people are going to go out to vote in 2020.
Hopefully, yeah, because it's good. Get more people out there.
I think a lot of people didn't vote in 2016 because they were like, well, there's no way Donald Trump's going to win. Hillary has this in the bag. But now seeing that Donald Trump can win and he has such an enormous following, I think a lot of people...
Dude, nobody expected it. I did not expect it. I seriously thought Hillary...
I bet you a lot of people are going to come out and vote just to make sure he doesn't get in office again.
I think Bernie's actually going to run again as well.
Yeah, he is. I don't know if he's going to get elected, though.
I'm not sure either.
Anyway, get your kids vaccinated. Look up climate change. Have an informed opinion on it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, don't disagree with us just because of what we say or believe what we say. Look up stuff for yourself, too.
Have an informed opinion on everything we talk about, actually.
I mean, it's healthy to disagree with people. I mean, you don't need to go and call them names and stuff like that, but it's good to disagree. It's good to hear other people's opinions.
So, I think it's about all I have to say about that. Anything you want to add?
No, that's about it, I think.
All right. Well, sticking somewhat loosely on the topic of spreading diseases, sexually transmitted diseases.
Diseases are at an all-time high with our millennial generation.
Especially ASU and Florida State.
Yep. The ASU's always been pretty high, but nowadays it's increased, like, exponentially.
All right, Greg. I was talking to you about it earlier. I didn't give you much information, but what do you think about the four-handed condom?
I like the idea. I like what they're trying to do with it, but it just doesn't make much sense because, I mean, if...
Oh, hold on. Let me give you the rundown before we start talking about it.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
because, yeah.
So, god dang, dude.
Wind is crazy.
Yeah. So the four-handed condom, they're releasing this in Argentina, an Argentinian company called BBDO, like Tulipia or something like that.
I have no clue.
They're releasing this. It's like a limited edition condom pack. They call it the consent pack. Now, how do you think you would open a four-handed condom pack?
I can't even begin to think about it. Like,
Yeah, I was trying to...
I'm like, what? Like, how the hell? How does that work?
I was trying to think about it. I was like, well, you only really need like two hands to like...
Is it like a plastic
tear
one
it.
where you have to press like a button here,
No,
a
here.
button here?
Yeah, here. So basically, it's a box, but has buttons. Has like two buttons on each side of the box.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take two hands from each person to press all the buttons to open it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to do that. And then it's limited edition, sold to only bar customers and people who are attending events in Argentina. They say they made it to encourage consent and condom use because 20.5% of Argentinians don't use condoms, 65.5% only use them on occasions, and only 14% of their population uses them regularly.
I don't see how that's going to increase the numbers, but I do like the idea of, promoting consent because that's what it does. But at the same time, I mean, people aren't going to use condoms. They're not going to use condoms. I mean, it's not going to change anything just because it's a
that's what I'm
more consensual one.
I'm thinking. Like, it's a nice idea. Like, when you're like getting down with it, like, you're gonna be, hold up, can you help me? And you guys like try to fiddle around, figure out how to open this four-handed box to unlock your condoms.
Yeah.
Like, you might just say F it at that point and just like, nah, we're raw dogging this.
it. Just raw dog, yeah.
But I mean, I don't really see what it's kind of. I don't see how the box necessarily. I know how they're trying to promote consent, but I think it's kind of doesn't make much sense because if they're not consenting, I don't think that person cares whether or not that they're gonna put a condom on or even or help them to press the button. It's just kind of.
Yeah, like I said, man, it doesn't really make much sense per se because, I mean, if people don't want to use condoms, they're not going to use condoms. And if someone's consenting, so it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess, what are you going to do, like, if she takes you to court for rape? Officer, she opened the box with me, like I guess can you just, like, change your... Like, what if they change their mind after you already opened the box? Like, it's kind of weird. Rape pretty much is rape is a very, very sensitive topic.
Very sensitive, yeah.
And, it's just kind of a weird way to promote consent. Obviously, it's more like it's an ad company. They're just advertising. It's a gimmick. But I thought it was kind of interesting, kind of funky.
Yeah, it's a crazy new age idea, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's so weird. I don't even understand, like, I don't know how it would work. I mean, obviously, I know how it works, but I don't understand how, in a real situation, it's going to play out. Like, what exactly is going to happen that leads up to that? And then even so, like, are people really going to be that serious about it that they're really going to use a four-handed box condom thing that...
Nah. They said they were selling it, too. I don't think they were giving them out either. So, like, I don't really think anyone's gonna.
I don't know
buy
anyone's
that.
gonna buy that.
It's
Yeah,
probably gonna be expensive as hell.
probably.
Oh,
I know.
I forgot to tell you about the mosquitoes and whatnot. Sorry, it's off topic, but did you have anything more to say about the condoms?
No, that's.
Yeah, okay. So about the mosquitoes. So they were doing the research, right, to help like do preventative stuff to make sure the mosquitoes can't like reproduce or whatever, so it doesn't spread diseases. Now the climate's changing. They found that playing Skrillex actually helps them. So like
What?
yeah, so like I guess the frequent changes in the loudness and the tones or whatever of Skrillex music, it messes with the way that the mosquito's brain works or how they can reproduce. So they're just not able to reproduce. So if you don't, and they don't bite as much either when they're listening to it either. So if you don't want to get bit, dude, or you don't want to have diseases spread through mosquitoes, just play Skrillex
Straight
everywhere
play
you
some
go,
Skrillex
dude.
on a
Play
loudspeaker. Yeah.
Skrillex everywhere you go.
Bump it in your car. What the hell? That's so weird. I mean, I guess because their bodies are so small, it does make some sense. But like, what the hell? Like, that's so random. Like, where? Like, there's some things that I don't get how at some point somebody discovered it. Like, how did somebody discover that if you grab a small flower, break it up, put it into a something, and then like smoke it, that it would get you high? Like, who discovered that?
Look, dude. Humans are crazy people, crazy animals.
Like, I don't know who discovered some of this stuff, man. It's weird. Like, who discovered that if you pinch a cow's udders, it'll give out milk and
Well, I mean,
safely
any
consume
animal will lactate
Well, yeah,
if it's
but
pregnant. But
I mean, yeah, that is
the
true.
question is, who wanted to drink
Who
it?
wanted to drink it is what I meant. Yeah, who wanted to sit there and drink cow milk?
Look, I'm a fan of milk, so like, I'm not judging. I'm judging them because like, it's kind of weird you had that thought to try it, but now that I've tried like it in a glass, you know,
That's like a cow drinking human
tastes
milk
good.
for like, just to drink it or using it for cereal. Like, what? We have a small interruption. Hopefully it's not too long.
we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that call. I was butt dialed by my girlfriend. But I think honestly, I think we were wrapping up about what we were saying, unless you had anything more to add about people.
I think we're wrapping up just like that 4-handed condom might be when somebody goes ahead and buys it.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all for watching. Thank all the new people that maybe my ad has reached. I don't know. I paid for an ad on Facebook.
On El Facebook.
Yeah, 3,000 people saw it, but I don't know how many subscribers I really gained from that. So we'll see, dude.
We'll see, yeah.
We got a Twitter. Follow us at, I think it's Podcast Rooftop at Twitter. This man will be in charge of the Twitter. I'm running the Facebook because I really freaking suck at social media, and Facebook is really
I've never used
damn
Twitter before,
easy.
but I mean, it can't be that hard to use, and I mean,
He uses social media more than I do,
I'm
which
good.
is
I'm
why
better
I
at social
trusted
media,
him with
yeah.
it.
Especially Instagram, man.
Yeah.
Memes are amazing.
Yeah,
Support
if you
your
want to
local
make the
meme
Instagram
pages.
too, we can both run
Oh yeah,
that.
that's easy. Yeah.
But it's a Rooftop Podcast on Facebook. Tell your grandparents, tell your parents. If you might have a Facebook, go give us a like. Follow us on Twitter. We'll start tweeting. I haven't done anything on it, but the page is made. So yeah, thank you guys. Be informed on vaccines. Be informed on climate change. Be informed on Skrillex with mosquitoes. Be informed on consent. Please have
Always.
great
Consent is very
consensual
important.
you know,
Very important. Yes.
So
Yes. And always stay protected. If you're not willing to catch a disease or not willing to have an unexpected child, then always be protected.
yes, thank you guys for watching. We will see you in the next one.